This is a FLIR thermal imaging camera, so you guys will be using this. So basically, this is what firemen would use to go help save people. It's just a quick attachment for their cell phone before they run into the burning building. So a lot of people ask me, like, hey, what app is that? I'm like, it's not an app you can go home and download. It's just attached to a cell phone, just to make it a nice, convenient way for firemen to be able to use it, or anybody else that uses thermal imaging. But you should be able to see me in there, red, orange, and yellow guy. So I would normally make the joke that I'm the hottest thing inside the frame right now. But yeah, that still works. You guys got chuckles. But we're looking for those cold spots, which are going to be blue and black. There's always going to be cold spots in there. So glass and any windshields and windows and those kind of things are always going to be colder than our ambient temperature. So our ambient temperature tonight is around 69 degrees. So believe it or not, it's like a perfect, beautiful night out here for me, because the bag stays heavy, especially when I only have two folks in front of me. But with this, we're looking for those blue and black areas to either move or to take shape. When I say take shape, I want a head, shoulders, moving arms and legs. Like that's what that's what you signed up for, dear. Hopefully, if we do capture something like that, you'll obviously have the footage from it coming back from me. Like I normally carve it out if it's something that specific. But I will tell you that, because a lot of people show up and they're like, oh, how many nights are active for you? I'm like, every night of the week is active for me. However, getting something like that, I get about 4 or 5 pieces like that a year. So where I can put my stamp of approval on it, like that was definitely not a human living person walking towards us, or so forth and so on. You're getting the point. I also have it set up to where there's a blue dot bouncing around the screen. I'll kind of get out of the frame a little bit. You should be able to see that. So the blue dot is showing you the coldest spot in the frame at that moment. So in the event we don't have a full blue person walking towards us, we might be able to capture something that's about 15 degrees colder than ambient. So I'll be looking right around the 54 degree mark and colder out of that, since it is a little bit on a warmer side for us. Where are you guys from, by the way?
New Jersey originally.
So yeah, this is what's the weather doing up there?
Actually, they just had an earthquake.
It's about 10 degrees. They're not 10 degrees colder. I'd say, on average.
So even that temperature is perfectly fine with me. I might have like a long sleeve on, but anyway, I'm from the north, so yeah. I mean, my blood is thinned. Don't get me wrong. It's been a while. But again, that blue dot, if I find something in there that's around that 54 degrees or colder, I'll obviously give a screenshot of it so that way you guys can see what I found and the marker, so you can watch it move. So again, I don't want it to just be stagnant like on that windshield over there, because it's gonna be like, oh, this is 44 degrees. No, I look for the thing to either move or move intelligently, so to speak. So there you go. Now you're recording. You're going to leave that running for the entire time that we are in each space. If you hit the record button by the time you think you saw something, Jeff, it's already gone. That's why we just let it run. So this place used to be something relevant to the history of Charleston, believe it or not. I know it's a parking lot now, not very exciting, but imagine my 10 to 12 people. I got to spread them out so that way you guys aren't influencing each other. This is also where I start withholding information on purpose. The reason why, I don't want you searching for things. I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color was George Washington's white horse, like what we did with the Big Red Barn. So you're going to tell me all the silly things that you hear on there, because you don't know what's going to stick. Now, this place used to be the Charles and Eliza Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion sat in the front of the space where the cars are all parked, facing East Bay Street. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant, where you had lunch, and came all the way across, and we are standing in the servant and slave quarters for the home. That's the layout of the land. Who the heck were these people? Charles and Eliza had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. That's 3 different Chucks. That's why we look for secondary clues. In the event you hear Charles, hopefully my word list gives us a clue of which one it is. It says all 3 are different men. Now, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. It's a big deal for us. I hate politics more than both of you combined. Unless you guys grinned at me like, do you both work in politics or something?
No.
Like you both were exactly identical at the same time. I'm like, oh man, who am I going to piss off tonight? But we're going to move on, simply because if I don't give those gentlemen that recognition, they're going to do it for me in a very nasty manner through your spirit box. I've seen it. So I just make sure I give it to them. We move on. We're going to discuss Eliza instead. Eliza marries Charles at a young age according to today's standards. If you're going to ask her how old she was when she got married, don't think of look for numbers that are from colonial days, from where she came from, like 12 and 14, when young ladies got married. Think of today's standards, because the husband was over double her age. So it was kind of creepy then, kind of creepy now. So we just kind of put that in perspective. Anyway, she married him because her father was over in England. He thinks he's dying. He's trying to bring all of his kids home one last time so he can see him. Eliza didn't believe he was dying, so she stayed put right here, got married. It's 1744. You don't get married in that year to get a green card. We're not a country yet. So she did marry him out of love. Like, this is, believe it or not, a true love story. There's nothing horrific here at all. I know I've had some nasty messages here, but that was just out of disrespect. So, put that in line. But anyway, Eliza was correct. She did not, the father didn't die right away. And instead, he started sending her gifts from England to where you're standing. One of the gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. It's a plant that makes blue dye that makes your blue jeans blue. You're wearing it right now. But when she got her seeds, she didn't know what to do with it. She actually had to learn from her servants and slaves how to keep it cultivated. It's not always warm here. And then she had to learn how to make the dye, which she did right here, and then moved it to a cash crop down by the Stono River, got a hold of Dad overseas and told him rice plantation prices were going downhill, they were going to make a killing with the indigo. And now we have an international businesswoman during colonial days, something absolutely unheard of.
Cool.
So yeah, see, I do a little bit of celebrating. It's not always like, the gory jump out stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's the boring business stuff, because normally when I get teenagers, they're like shuffling their feet, like, man, is he done talking yet? So you're going to basically just stay focused on Eliza's death. She's pretty open about talking about it, and these are things you can either ask out loud or you can just focus on them. Just wait to kind of see what's going to come through, which is why we always use at least a minimum of 2 communication devices. Not to mention, if I ask a question, the answer might go to Jeff's audio or the audio on my voice recorder. We never know where it's going to fall.
Oh.
That's kind of the great thing.
So she communicates a lot, does she?
Yes, quite a bit. So, I know, sounds weird, but
No, it's okay. I'm going to make it louder now.
the 4 major questions that we get, you might want to turn it down.
Right.
Go ahead and turn it down for a second. So the 4 major things that we get answers to: how old she was when she died, how she died, where she's buried, which president was a pallbearer at her funeral.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that doesn't tell you how important this young lady was. I don't know what will.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm going to be keeping an eye mostly on the EMF here, because it can spike up to almost dangerous levels. So we'll talk about that if we actually get to that point. But we're just going to take like 1 or 2 laps around here, and you're going to have Tourette syndrome and just spit out whatever you hear. Let's take kind of a little quick lap. Let's see what else we can get.
Mm-hmm.
So on that camera, with this location, the ground is going to be like multiple different colors.
Yeah.
Just because it's made out of different materials. So usually pay attention to like the walls around here, because it's going to hang on to the sun's heat in the daytime. Let's see if anything blue. See if the sun's heat is going to make it show up a little bit brighter. Anything stand out to you?
I could have sworn I heard the word young, but I don't know.
Your bag is kind of cold. It is. It's like it's pointing right to the bag.
Well, it's also going to have, like, because I'm warm,
Yeah,
it's also going to be in reference to my skin.
I got
So,
you.
doesn't feel cold. I carry about 30 pounds of gear in this bag.
Yeah, I bet.
Guys, it's okay. Told you we were coming.
missing better than what we do.
So the numbers here already jump all the way up to 28. And I'll explain those before we leave the space. I usually wait till we have pretty significant numbers. I had a 22 earlier, I had a 21.
And what is the normal?
The average for this location is between
Okay.
but they are outdoors.
Okay.
So especially in spaces that are like I can take a stand here and see nothing goes like that. Maybe like a 1-1, up to 1, but an average that but my sense.
Okay.
The average here is like that's like 5 out of 6. We have seen triple digits here, we've actually seen air route.
Wow.
Yeah, that's not really place here and there. Spit out you said the word young. I wrote that one down. It's the oldest person. House to mouth, and the person who said his house is on the way down.
Okay.
So I'm always a person. Yeah, you can get out.
Okay.
That's why I'm looking at I let you guys do it.
Yep.
What I need to do, I know how.
Right.
You got anything weird, Jeff?
Yeah, kind of.
You got?
Well, this I might it's probably those things on that roof there. There was a real cold point. Looked like something sitting right there.
So it looks like it's the metal casing
on that
AC unit over there.
Yeah, see, it's black. Actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
If ever unsure, you can always get closer to see like how.
Yeah, it's probably what it is.
I have a dumpster right here.
Yeah.
But way up top there is an AC unit that is metal.
Yeah.
It will hang on to the breeze to the extreme of tonight's temperature. Oh, and the sky has no surface, so if it's in view, that blue dot will automatically go to the sky. So you kind of see where you have that black area now.
Yeah.
It's in between the trees right here.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I'm looking at.
Yep. It's in between the trees. It's
Yeah.
trying to measure the sky, but there's nothing to measure because that will only see surface temps.
All right.
Man, we're gonna get a good view with you as far as tall as you are, man.
So, question for you.
Yes.
Should it be like an odd, distinct voice in the static, or could it even be the words in the radio?
It's the words in the radio. That's what you're
Okay.
looking for. Much
Okay,
easier to
because
do
that's
that.
what I was doing,
Right.
but I wasn't sure if there was something, because
No.
the word 100 came up.
Now, can it come through on the static? It can. I catch those. Those are the ones I capture like 15 a year.
Okay.
So the ones in the static, and I actually count how many radio stations did it go over. So if I have like more than 3 or 4 pulses in that, because I do slow it down and count it, I have EVPs that have gone all the way up to like 13 and 14. Same voice telling me one message. Like that's not radio chatter.
No, that's creepy.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
It
On
is
my end.
There it
On
is.
my end, it's good.
What happened to their mansion if they made so much money?
I'm going to cover that. Why don't you ask and focus on that? That's usually a set of questions I throw to somebody with a spirit box.
What was that?
I usually throw that set of questions to somebody else with a spirit box, but there's only one of you tonight.
Oh, okay.
So it's like, hey, go ask what happened to the mansion, and if you get the what, we normally
Yeah,
get the
where's
date.
the mansion?
Yep. We'll normally get the date.
That's the windshield.
stop button. Kind of through here, or anybody else, they normally cut through this ivy wall right here because there's a little set of stairs. And then, of course, we just kind of lower the camera whenever they're walking by. We try not to film other people. Welcome to Philadelphia Alley. Have you heard anything else besides staying alive?
It's hard.
Okay, let's go ahead and turn
I'm
it down.
sorry.
And no, don't apologize. It's not an easy thing to do.
No.
No, go ahead. What's going on?
Somebody's asking us what's going on.
How you manage to find this over here?
Somebody on the phone or something.
Yeah. So, said that's not us. This is probably the most popular ghost tour stop in town.
Yeah.
They know what's going on over here.
Yeah.
So, this was the place I was going to take out of my route this year, just because it is so popular and it's a giant cliche. And again, I'm not about that. I like to take you to the weird spots. But this is Philadelphia Alley. So it used to be called Duelers Alley. So this is where some of the duels used to take place in Charleston. And I say some of them because dueling was illegal in the 1700s. They had to find hiding spots. This just happened to be one of them. We all tell the same story. I'm going to give you a few extra details, obviously because we're ghost hunting, not just a campfire marshmallow kind of ghost tour. So let's kind of get into it. A doctor moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Dr. Joseph Brown Ladd. In the event you hear the song Brown Eyed Girl while we're here, not coincidental. It's part of his name. We get it all the time. So anyway, Dr. Ladd moves here because he's supposed to get married to his fiancée Amanda. Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents, and she is an attorney, helping her out with all of the cash. The attorney thinks that Dr. Ladd is just after Amanda's money. He tells Amanda, get rid of that doctor. He's just going to take your money. Doc moves down here to prove that he's not after her money. So, on his way into town, he had a coachman. The coachman set him up to be robbed and killed. It's like having a really bad Uber driver. That's the relation I have to get to the teenagers, because that's the only thing they understand. But anyway, so somebody was walking by and seen what was about to happen. The person walking by was named Ralph Isaacs. You can see where the Isaac name came in, so I was like, okay, they know we're coming. But anyway, I stop on his name slowly, just because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. Rhode Island, Ralph Isaacs. I was getting the letters RI all the time on one of those, so I bought that little Ouija board device on purpose so we can get just the individual letters. We've had it about half a dozen times in the past year. So I don't always bring out that device because it's not always productive. The ghosts don't always know how to use it because, again, it's very weird. It works off of VMF like the other device in my pocket. But anyway, back to Ralph. He tells Doc that, I know this guy, the coachman. He's going to try to kill you. Come with me. I got friends at 59 Church Street. You can rent a room from them. You'll be safe. Doc took him up on the offer. They became friends. The longer the doctor stays here, the more money he's making. He's proving his point. He's not after Amanda's money. He's going to make his own. And he is. So Amanda gets wind of the fact that he is making his own money and she's moving down soon. So that way they could be married. Dr. Ladd then became known as the Whistling Doctor. He whistled all the time. It's the 1700s. That's what gentlemen did back then. So that's part of the reason why I hate this story. It's because it's a giant cliche. Every haunted city you will ever visit has a cliched whistling ghost. We all have one. Ours just happens to be a doctor. There is some legitimacy to those whistles. We're going to get to that. To the duel. Now, Ralph and Dr. Ladd used to go see plays together. They can't sit next to each other because the doctor makes more money. He gets better seats. That's the hierarchy of Charleston. So they talk about these plays on the way home, and they go see Richard III one night, and they're arguing on their walk home over the actress they just saw. Doc thought she was great. Ralph didn't. So it turns into Ralph insulting the doctor's fiance back home in Rhode Island. It got really ugly, and they went their separate ways. We're going to let this tour pass through because he's probably going to go right down to the middle. So they go their separate ways, but Ralph has friends around town. He goes to his friends at the newspaper and places an ad in the paper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor. Yeah. So we're going to wait for the class. How you doing?
Doing all right, how about yourself?
You good?
I think so. Yeah.
I know they're not. Right.
I didn't even hear anything when it's that big.
Not to mention my bag's heavy.
Could you imagine?
Well, the bag's about 27, 28 pounds already. And I'm constantly like renewing batteries and stuff like that. You guys get it. But anyway, back to the ad that the doctor placed, or that Ralph placed. The doctor saw it in the paper, rebutted with, let's go to Duelers Alley. Somebody's going to die. Keep in mind that this stupid argument started over an actress. I like to point that out too, because it's really dumb. So they came down, back to back, took 10 paces away from each other, and turned. The doctor points his gun in the air, shot him one shot. He didn't want to kill his friend. I think you guys' group is down there.
I don't know what. Oh, we were just.
Oh, were you just passing through?
Yeah.
They'll let you cut through. Go for it.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and interrupt. You're fine. So Ralph has his one bullet, puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. So the doctor didn't die either. Doc fell to the ground. His friends picked him up, took him home to 59 Church Street, where he died 10 days later after refusing medical treatment on November 2nd of 1786. I'm going to point out two things. 1786, gunshot wounds were a lot different back then than they are now. He's also a doctor. Probably just thought he had lead poisoning and tried to bleed it out himself, but obviously he failed. He died. Now, every ghost tour, including the one that just went through us, is going to tell their listener, their guest, to listen to the whistles. We have a camera, plus my voice recorder, that's recording audio right now. If we're going to capture a disembodied whistle, it will more than likely come up on one of our two devices. However, I can't say dozens and dozens of times on your spirit box we have the whistling part of a song and then the word doctor from a commercial immediately after. Doctor comes up all the time. This is part of the reason why I can't stop going to this space, because the guy, everybody's been telling his story for 40, 50 years. This is a common stop.
Right.
However, I can communicate back. He can communicate with me. So he actually follows us over to the next location, bleed over, and he also likes to show up at our last stop. That house of 59 Church Street where he used to live is nearby. So again, places of emotion. Obviously the pain and suffering here, where we're going, is going to be somewhat relevant because he would recognize the building, not to mention his home. You guys are getting the point of reference. Now, if you're going to try this on your own while you're here, and you're going to listen for the whistles by using the voice recorders from your phones, just remember that every local knows this damn story. Anybody walking up and down Cumberland Street or Queen Street, you all throw a whistle down this alley. I do it every single time I walk past here since I've been thrown out. Let's talk about that. That's the fun part of the story. Now, when I first started doing this, I used to take my people all the way through to the end of the alley. Let me explain why. Where we came in, and this might even explain, like you said, it's just so weird how people threw an alley in the middle of the city. There was a wall halfway between us and Cumberland Street. So that's part of the reason why I like to stop right here. It shows the halfway point. But the reason why is this used to be called Cow Alley before it was Dueler's Alley. This really kept the livestock in the city of Charleston. So it's just kind of like in a central location. So that means the bricks down at the other side are older than the ones we're standing on. Those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. I used to take my groups down there to show the history lesson, nothing paranormal about it, because you already know how I feel about cemeteries. That kid's not there. It's the last place you're going to find him. So there's a full handprint in one of those bricks and fingerprint swipes in others. Yeah, kind of a weird thing, right? Go down there, and my entire group, November 26th of 2020, they're huddled around that brick waiting for something to happen. I know nothing's going to happen, and I'm just trying to be respectful because we're standing outside the dining room window of the beautiful mansion at the end of the alley. Yeah, that owner came out screaming. My daughter, who was also on the tour that night, thought it was hysterical because her father's getting yelled at. We moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I've already explained I worked for Walmart for a good number of years in upper management. I don't work on Thanksgiving because everybody likes to fight over towels on Thanksgiving, and you all scarred me for life. So I don't do Thanksgiving anymore. The next day, I called my partner that brought me into tourism. I'm not partnering with him anymore, but I called him and I told him what happened with the neighbor down at the end, and he said, dude, you're not allowed to go down that far. You're only allowed to go down halfway, which was about a little bit further than where he is. And he said, you got to reroute your group. So I told my group that night, I don't believe in the next story because I've never had anything happen over there. My previous route was that way. So I had to go all the way through here to get to it. So I also told him I'm into vampires. I'm not into pirates. Obviously, we're going to be discussing pirates next. You're in Charleston. But before we left, somebody with a spirit box heard the name Anne. I didn't tell them which pirate we were going to be investigating. The famous female pirate, Anne Bonny. So I was kind of like, oh, maybe we're going to get something. I took them around the corner. I told them a little bit I did know about piracy, which wasn't much. Somebody else with a different spirit box heard the number 300. I had to write it down because I didn't know what it meant. I researched it. We were there November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720, the exact 300th anniversary of her pirate trial. I was actually kind of pissed off. Let me explain. I have a master's degree in creative writing, guys. When I'm writing anything, like researching stuff like this, I need facts and data. Like, that's the only way to get valid proof, right? Pirate stories come from pirate lore, which means that was written 100 years after the Golden Age of piracy. That's a problem for me, because that just means I have to read more damn books on pirates to make sure, like, what we're finding over there is legit. I've read more books on pirates than I ever wanted to in my entire life, just for this one story that we're about to go discuss. And it is also a roll of the dice if she'll even be there. I know it might seem that way with paranormal stuff anyway, but this is really a 50-50 shot, and I'll explain that once we get over there. That's why I like having the bleed over from Dr. Glad over there. So we're going to go up and around the corner. We're going to discuss Anne Bonny, and then we're going to be able to explore like what we did at the Pinckney Mansion site. So we'll just stay out of the way of the other tours. Continue listening on your spirit box. Again, you're getting better. You're getting the beaches. What'd you get? Anything?
No.
Nothing. Just focused on me. We're going to leave the way we came in. Because again, we can't go all the way through. I'll get booted out again.
That's all right.
I just like to also like point out like certain aspects of the alley that not everybody talks about. By the way, that gate that we were just standing in front of, it was always here. So the gate itself wasn't, but the archway was. You have to remember, like, if there was a loser to the duel, this is blocked off with the wall right about here. So that way they don't have to go all the way to the end of the alley and double back to get to the other side of the cemetery, which is on the other side of that wall. They can just go through the archway, and then the cemetery's right there. So they drop the dead body and go celebrate the winner. Oliver on here. I just don't know who the heck Oliver is. I see on here all the time. By the way, since you guys seem like you just got here, you get the opportunity. This cemetery on the other side of this wall is actually open during the day. John Calhoun, his sarcophagus is over there, so it's always open to the public, usually till about 4 or 5 o'clock. So anywhere there's some kind of president or vice president, it's usually open to the public. It really gives you a good snapshot of some of the history around here if you really look at some of the headstones.
Okay.
So
We were at one church that had the
Which
cemetery.
church is this?
this is part of St. Philip's.
Okay, we were on the other side.
Yeah, so
Today.
St. Philip's is got two sides of it. Did they explain why?
No.
So, native Charlestonians can be buried in the graveyard, which is where the church is. Everybody else gets buried on the other side. If you're not from here, you come to this side, which is why Calhoun's over here. They didn't know if he was from here or not, because his history is on the little shady side. So he actually got shuffled back and forth until they figured out where he was supposed to go. So again, every tour in town will tell you about like, hey, he crossed over Church Street more so dead than he did alive. Mentality. It's kind of like their running joke. But the Charles Pinckney, the husband and the nephew that we spoke about earlier, are both buried on that other side. Did you guys like walk through like the graveyard over there? Or no?
Well,
Yeah,
that's what
just
we
a
did.
little
We
bit,
didn't go into the church. We just walked through the
That's
graveyard.
the church we did go into.
Was it open?
No, that
What
was
church
the,
was that?
that was the Hemlocks or whatever they are.
Oh.
There's some kind of
Huguenots?
Protestant. Yeah,
Yeah.
Huguenots. Yeah, that was the one we
All
went
right.
into. This one was a different one.
Okay.
The
The
one here.
cemetery, the graveyard was open.
Yeah, it was open. Yeah, the church was open too. We just didn't go into it.
I've lived in Charleston. Well, not directly.
Maybe we weren't supposed. Well, the gate was open.
There was other people.
I've
There
been
was
here
another
8
couple in
years
there.
and I've never set foot on the street.
Really?
I mean, I was very careful. I only stayed right on my little.
I've never been inside the gate.
Yeah.
I come down here all the time, and I always check to see if it's open because again, there's a lot of like my historical figures in there that I discuss all the time. Not to mention,
Yeah, there's a couple guys that signed the Declaration or the
the
Constitution or something.
yeah, the one I just mentioned.
Yeah.
We talked about him earlier. That's what
Yeah,
he's
they
buried.
have a sign in there talking
Okay.
about it.
Yeah, so Charles Pinckney's in there,
Yeah.
and then his uncle, which is Eliza's husband.
Yeah, we seen the
Okay.
pink. I seen the
See
Pinckney
kind of
one.
how this all comes together now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Comes
Yeah.
full circle.
Yeah.
A lot different when you're like actually hearing. Well, you haven't heard much from her tonight, but when
I,
you're like,
you could tell me later that I heard a hell of a lot and I just wasn't in tune
and I'm
to
going
it.
to. So, but when you guys get your report back, I'm going to give you all the markers of the things that I found. If I find that it's relevant, it'll have that little note next to it, like, hey, you heard the number 58 while we've been here. Charles Pinckney died in 1758. Here's a link to show you where he's buried.
Yeah.
That's the kind of mentality you're going to have with your notes. So again, I'm
Okay,
going to go
great.
through that.
Yeah.
So it's okay that you're missing things.
Yeah,
'cause
I'm
gonna-
expecting to be embarrassed.
So some people are horrible at this. Some people like pick it up right away. So again, and it's not anything with specific age groups or genders or anything like that. However, I do find that males are normally better with that. If I'm really going to put it out there, it's normally like a 60-40, like they're going to be better than females. Even though we all have
That's
selective
Well, I
hearing.
mean, you hear chatter constantly, so it's just understanding what has relevance.
But that's why I withhold information, and I tell everybody that gets these spirit boxes, tell me the silliest things you heard. Like the Mayo Clinic, who knows that Eliza didn't like mayonnaise? You know what I mean? Instead of you coming together with the whole breast cancer thing. It could be in a different context. So again, that's what I usually tell people. Like, it could be the funniest thing ever, and you don't know if it's going to stick or not. That's why we just create the grab bag and kind of see what's in there.
Yeah.
Based on where we are. So yeah, you can hit that record button again if you haven't already started it.
The square means record, right?
You got it. You had it as a circle.
All right.
Sorry, I got an eye for that thing. I'm assuming the two of you are married, is that correct?
Yes. Long, long time. Never had a fight.
I love that. My current wife and I have been 8 years. 8 years we've been
Hey,
together,
you're a
never had
youngster.
fight. I think it lasted 8 hours with my first wife. And how long have you two been married?
38 years?
She
Something
can't
like
hear
that.
you. It's okay. We'll go
38.
38.
Yeah, something like that. 1985.
85.
So 39 years, I guess it'll be.
Yeah, 39, but
A long time.
I was 6 years old when we got married.
Gee, thanks.
Okay, and you're here. We need to know quick. You aren't always one to come out right away. Jackie over there, she can hear whatever you want. I love how she's so focused. Oh, look at that! It's the same. Pirate life for you. What do you got? What do you got?
I heard the word angel.
Okay.
I'm trying to find names. Billy Joel.
Nothing too crazy, but.
Daniel?
Me?
Yep.
I mean, it just zeroes right in on these cars, you know?
Yeah.
That roof was real cold, too. I don't know.
I can't remember what that roof's made out of.
It's like, looks like clay.
Yeah. And if we're not going to be specific, we're going to roll on. Anything now?
I don't know.
Nothing specific. I'm not getting anything specific enough. Even from Dr. Ladd, I don't have anything. The only thing the best thing that came up so far was the word sandy. And that comes up here all the time. And I'll explain why. And we can kind of probably wrap this one up. I don't think she's here tonight. But the building, we were just talking about the shingles, but there's sand underneath those shingles. The reason why is because if it does get attacked by a cannonball and it blows up the gunpowder inside, the sand is supposed to blow up in the air. That's why the walls are so thick. So if it goes up in the air, it's meant to fall to put out the fire of the gunpowder.
Smart.
But it also doesn't work.
Oh.
Just like the earthquake bolts. We had another powder magazine very similar to this down by the battery, and it did get struck because it's closer to the water. The sand went up, but the building burned to the ground.
Oh.
However, that sand is still there from like 1710. Sand doesn't disintegrate, nor is it compressed and hot enough to be turned into glass. So again, it's still there. They had to do some repairs to those clay shingles before they turned it into the museum. So that's how we know that the sand is actually still present.
Wow.
But the word Sandy showing up here shows up at this location all the time. So we might not have Ann here. We might have one of the soldiers that was, guarding the gunpowder or something. So again, depending on whatever I find, you do give me the word gold. Like, that's not a pirate term. I don't know what is. Again, too vague for me to say like concrete. We have a ghost here, if you get the point. So I'm going to cover the answers for the Ann Bonny questions. You can stop your video at this point if you have.